Sometimes you have to do two different things when you factor a trinomial. You have to pull out the greatest common factor and put it into two binomials. In this case, it is much easier to pull out that greatest common factor first. I would always suggest that. So as you're looking at the 8, and the 48, what number was the biggest number that will divide into all of those? And hopefully you say that it is an 8. So your greatest common factor is 8. And that's kind of like just dividing each of these by 8. And what you'll get is you'll get an x squared plus x minus 6. Now that 8 is important. We're going to get back to that in just a minute. When you factor it, I'm going to do this one pretty quickly here. You notice that the factors of 6 that subtract to be 1, the greatest one has to be positive. That's 2 and 3. So I have an x plus 3 and an x minus 2. And then that 8 has to be in front because it is still part of the problem. And there you go. That's the answer. Sometimes the greatest common factor is not as obvious. As you look right here, 3, 11, 6, the biggest number that's going to divide in those is a 1. However, if you want to make your life a lot easier, you want to get rid of that negative that's in the front of your trinomial. And so really my greatest common factor is a negative 1. And I would say always do that. So when I pull out the negative 1, I have left 3x squared minus 11x plus 6. So basically all the signs of each term changed. Now that negative 1, super important for the answer, so don't forget that one. As I work on this, I'm going to use the x method. Now my 3x squared here, my 6 here. 3 times 6 is 18, and if you notice the 6 is positive, so I'm finding two factors of 18 that add to be 11. And when I did that, I found out that that was a negative 2 and a negative 9. Well, remember, when we do the x method, then each of those has to be divided by your a value of 3 here. The next step is to have like an x minus 2/3 and an x minus 9/3. Well, if you remember from previous videos, that 3, we can't have a fraction. That 3 is going to go right here in front. And so it's going to be a 3x minus 2. And on this side, the 9 divided by 3 is an actual 3, so I don't have a fraction anymore. And so I just have x minus 3. But again, that greatest common factor, negative 1, I'm going to put it up front here. And I'm just going to put it as a negative because the 1 can be invisible. And so here is your answer for this one.